What's good, YouTube? Quasar here. Today I got something special to show you guys. Today I'm going to be bringing you guys my undefeated Burning Abyss Monarch deck profile. So if you're wondering what the hell is Burning Abyss Monarchs, well, stay tuned because I'm about to show you. So of course for Monarchs you have to play 3 copies of Aether. Choose your main Monarch. When it's tribute summoned you get to send 2 Monarch spell trap cards from your deck to the graveyard. And then you get to special summon a monster with 24 or 2800 attack from your deck. And usually you want to be special summoning Kiraz. We'll get to that in a moment. You want to use her effect on your opponent's turn, and you can tribute summon her on your opponent's turn by banishing one of your Monarch spell or traps from your graveyard. So next we're going to be playing 2 copies of Erebus. Erebus is again a really good beater of a Monarch. Whenever it's tribute summoned, you get to again send 2 Monarch spell traps from your deck to the grave and then return either a card on field from hand or graveyard back into the deck. And that effect also doesn't target, so that's really good. And then when Erebus is in the graveyard, you can discard one of your Monarch spell or trap cards to add another Monarch from your graveyard back to your hand, including like itself. So it's really good for recycling your Monarchs as well, so that's really good. And then lastly you have Kiraz, which you're going to want to use off of Aether. So whenever it's summoned you get to target 2 cards on the field, pop them, and then the controller of those cards gets to draw. So if you use that on your own cards, you just get to draw 2 cards and then continue your plays. Or if you tribute on your opponent's turn, you get to pop 2 of their cards and then just disrupt their plays, cause shenanigans like that. Anyways, that's the Monarch lineup. The Burning Abyss lineup now, we play 3 copies of Skarm, of course, your main searcher. So all Burning Abyss monsters, if you control another monster, the Burning Abyss gets destroyed. So there are a lot of ways to play around that. We'll get into that momentarily. Also, all Burning Abyss monsters, if you control no spell or traps, you get to special summon them from your hand. But if you do that, you can't get the graveyard effect. What you want though is the graveyard effect, because when this guy is sent to the graveyard, during the end phase you get to add another level 3 Dark Fiend from your deck to your hand. So all of your Burning Abyss monsters, and then you also can add either Tour Guide or your Fiendish Rhino. So really good, really helpful for just generating advantage. Next, 2 copies of Seer. So when Seer is sent to the graveyard, you get to special summon another Burning Abyss from your graveyard, but its effects are negated. So that's really helpful because it allows you to use your Burning Abyss monsters and keep them on the field and allow you to play your other monsters too. Because their effects negated, it won't get destroyed. And then we have 1 copy of Graph. Graph's only at 1, but when it's sent to the graveyard, you get to special summon a BA from your deck. So that's really helpful. This guy is probably your main target for Foolish Burial. And then your last Burning Abyss monster, we're playing 1 copy of a Lich. A Lich is your Beatrice target. Whenever it's sent to graveyard, you get to target a monster on the field and negate its effects. So Beatrice allows you to send a monster from your deck to the grave during either player's turn. You send this, there's a problematic monster, you can just negate that monster's effect. So really helpful there. And for the support, we play 1 copy of Tour Guide and then 2 copies of Fiendish Rhino. So Tour Guide is basically your 1 card Xyz. When it's summoned, you get to special summon another level 3 Fiend. That monster's effect's negated. So you can summon whichever Burning Abyss monster you need, whichever effect you really want. and then it won't be destroyed again because its effect's negated. You just detach that one to get that graveyard effect. And then Fiendish Rhino is really helpful too with your Burning Abyss monsters because it protects all of them from their own effects and your opponent's effects too. So if this guy's on field, all your Burning Abyss monsters won't be destroyed by their own effects. And also, if it's like Xyz material and it's sent to graveyard, you then get to send another fiend from your deck to the graveyard, allowing you more utility with your Burning Abyss monsters. So, really good there. And then lastly for monsters, we got 2 copies of Red Layer, 1 copy of Blue Layer. So we're playing the Quantum Engine, really helpful. Red Layer, basically you're just using it to special summon when you control no other monsters. You can actually make a really quick and easy rank 5 if you have like one of these and an emergency teleport. You can just like special summon it, E-Tully your Blue Layer. Blue Layer's effect, when it's summoned, you get to add another super quant, so add the second red. You tribute the blue for the red, and then you have an instant rank 5 right there. And of course, when Blue Layer is sent to graveyard, it gets shuffled back in. It can shuffle up to 3 of your super quants. So if you have all 3 in the grave, shuffle them all back. You're playing 2 E-Tullys, so that means Blue Layer is always live. And then for the last monster we're playing is 1 copy of Ghost Reaper. I'm playing this in the main because basically everything in the extra deck is going to be seen by pretty much any other meta deck out there. And this is like 9 times out of 10 a win condition for most decks. Because if you can pull this off before your opponent, like if you're playing against another BA deck and you just drop Dante, like they basically have to scoop there because they're out of plays. So maining this, that's it for monsters. That's 20 monsters we're playing. So for spells, we play 3 copies of Pantheism. Pantheism's your main spell card for Monarchs. Basically just discard another Monarch spell or trap, draw 2 cards, so it's good draw power. And then when it's in the graveyard, you can banish it to reveal 3 Monarch spell or traps. They don't have to be different. Your opponent chooses one of them to add to hand, and then the other 2 just get shuffled back into the deck. We play 3 copies of Tenacity. Basically, you just reveal a monster with 24 or 2800 attack, 1000 defense in your hand, and then you get to add any other Monarch spell or trap from your deck to your hand except a copy of itself. Three copies of Stormforth. Stormforth is really good because it allows you to use your opponent's monsters as tribute fodder. Just be careful when you do activate this though. The turn you activate it, you can't special summon from your extra deck. But because it's a quick play, you're usually going to want to be resolving it on your opponent's turn. And you're doing a lot of tribute summoning on your opponent's turn. So that's perfectly fine. It's going to create a lot of problems for them because they can't keep monsters on board. They're just going to be tributed for your own Monarchs. And then 1 copy of Return of the Monarchs. Basically, this guy's just in here to add your Aether from your deck to your hand. While this is on the field, you got to be careful because you can't special summon from the extra deck while this is on the field. So basically, you want to use this, search your Aether, and then you're going to drop Aether, use Cure as effect to pop this, and then you get to draw a card, and then from there you get to special summon from the extra deck because this is no longer on field. 2 copies of E-Tully. You know, it's at 2, but it's always live since Blue Layer is able to shuffle itself back into the deck. Foolish Burial, of course, because you can just send whatever BA you need to. And then lastly for spells, I'm playing 2 copies of Twin Twister. So this card is extremely good, especially if you combo it with your Burning Abyss monsters. Just discard, get whatever Burning Abyss effect, and then you get to pop 2 cards. So really good there. And now for trap cards. We play 3 copies of Prime. So we are playing 3 because you can still use it for its recycling effect. You activate it, target 2 other Monarch Speller traps in your graveyard, shuffle them back into your deck, and then you draw a card. So it helps with drawing, helps with recycling. Then when this is in the graveyard, you could banish another Monarch Speller trap and then special summon it as a level 5 monster. So great utility with your red layer, allowing you to make rank 5 plays. And then the final card we are playing, and this is the reason this deck works so well, Escalation of the Monarchs. This card allows you to tribute summon during your opponent's main phase or battle phase. So essentially, if you go first and you establish a solid Burning Abyss field, you activate this on your opponent's turn, tribute your Burning Abyss stuff, all the effects go off in grave from your Burning Abyss, and then your Monarchs go off, and it's your opponent's turn. They're going to go hard minus, you're going to go hard plus, and this card just makes people cry. So that's it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck. Playing number 77, number 84. So these guys you're basically going to want to overlay on top of your number 23. So 77 is extremely strong because you can basically banish everything and then take one of those banished cards, add it as an Xyz material. Number 84, you're probably never going to use its effect. You're basically only using this just to get into number 77. And then usually same with number 23, you just use 2 of your Monarchs, overlay them, drop this, and then you can instantly overlay into this, and then of course you have your number 77, and that's usually where you win. Your opponent's gonna scoop because your opponent probably doesn't have an out. We play, of course, also, since we're playing rank 8s, you have to play number 38. Really broken, stops your opponent's spell cards, gets you to add additional materials too, so you get to just keep abusing its effect. Any rank 8 deck should be playing a copy of this guy. And of course, for the last rank 8, we're playing 1 copy of Felgrand just for protection purposes. We play 2 copies of Beatrice just because we are also playing 2 copies of Dante. Really good to establish her first turn, and then you can just use her as tribute fodder. Like, you don't really need her to stay on the field. You can just have her on board. Maybe you activate her effect once, but if you can just establish her and then use her as tribute fodder, all of the other Burning Abyss monsters that you have as Xyz material are going to get their effects off, and you're just going to create an insane board, and your opponent just won't be able to do anything about it. For rank 5s, we play Volcasaurus, Red, and Durandal. So Volcasaurus, really good for burn. You have your Magna Liger because you're playing the red layers, so you get to pop monsters even on your opponent's turn. And then Durandal's just in here for those sort of bricky hands that you have, but you're not going to go into Durandal too often. For the rank 3s, we of course play 2 Dantes. the main Burning Abyss monster. So everyone pretty much knows what Dante's effect is. You're not usually going to use the effect. You just basically have it there in order to go into your Beatrice. The graveyard effect, though, is fairly relevant, and also because it's a Burning Abyss, it's still a target for Seer even. So like if he's in grave, you can pop Seer's effect, bring this guy back, and then you still have another Beatrice you can go into after. So basically you just have him on board. If you don't want to establish Beatrice, you can just tribute Dante. All effects still go off, and you're still going to create a lot of problems for your opponent. One copy of Grand Pulse just to pop back row, and of course you do have blue layer too, so use that effect during either player's turn. So next I'm playing one copy of F-Zero. So basically once you have 2 rank 3s on board, you're just going to use them as overlay materials to drop your F-Zero, because it is pretty easy to drop like 2 Dantes or even like your Dante Grand Pulse, things like that. So if you basically just use them up, drop this guy. He's also in here because like the Cosmo matchup, if you're like staring down like Dark Destroyer or something, you can drop this guy pretty easily, take their Dark Destroyer, and then your Cosmo opponent's going to be crying because usually there aren't really any outs to F-Zero, and you're going to be taking, you know, all their best monsters, beating them down with their own monsters. So of course you want to be playing F-Zero. And the final monster I play is one copy of Pilgrim. We play Pilgrim because, of course, if your Beatrice does end up dying, you still have this guy you can bring out. No, it's a really good 28 beat stick, and you can still use its effect through the Burning Abyss core that you are playing. And then if it does die, you're then able to still recycle your Burning Abyss stuff as well. So, of course, one copy of this just for Beatrice. Sometimes you don't even need it really, but it's just there if you do. So that's it for my Burning Abyss Monarch deck profile. I hope you guys liked it. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.